Well, hello again, everybody. It's been a hot minute as we're back here on Flamescast, myself and Neil. Yeah, last Monday, apologize, couldn't do it for whatever. I honestly forgot the reason at this point.
I
It was
also
so long
forgot.
ago.
Maybe we
'Cause,
just didn't feel like it. Apologies there. I
well, I know
don't
you
know.
said like it was funny. You made me think though. You were like, "Were we gonna record Monday?" And I'm like, "Did I message
I
Neil
mean,
on Monday telling him?"
I
Like,
recorded Double State of Mind, but like that's what I normally
oh
do
yeah.
anyway on Mondays. But I was thinking to myself while I was like in the middle of it, like,
I was like,
oh wait,
"Oh
were we supposed
wait,
to do Flames cast? I totally forgot. Like, did I
no."
just screw over Kyle?
I did no. It's honestly, I did the same. I
But
was
I
like,
also
"Oh well,
like
I
I
couldn't
got a new
anyway."
phone. I have a hilarious like new phone story. So
Okay.
I have a new phone, which is like literally the
iPhone or Android?
it's Android. I've always
Android,
been
okay.
an Android. I've
Okay,
never been an iPhone person.
okay.
This is the Google Pixel 9 XL, so it's like literally the newest Google phone.
Right.
So what happened was on what was it Saturday? I dropped my phone on the ground, and it
Oh,
was chipped in like two places. But it to me it was like I thought maybe it would be okay, but like a third of the screen was just this bright white light, and I'm just like,
oh,
so I took it to
fudge.
Verizon. They were like, "Oh yeah, your phone's done." And I was like, all right, whatever, let's get a new phone. And they were like, the difference between the 9XL and the 9 is $5 difference. And I was like, I'll get the newer, I'll get the
Get the newer
most,
one.
yeah. And
Yeah.
they were like, also, we want to change your plan so you could save $15 a month. So I remember sitting there saying, like, well, I guess maybe breaking my phone was a good thing. I guess.
Well, it's funny because like if you take your phone, and I don't know how it works maybe in the US compared to us here, but like if I had that happen,
Yeah.
first of all, I'd bring it to a repair shop just to see like, hey, is this actually dead? Because
Yeah.
if you bring it to Verizon, right, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, your phone's totally dead. Buy from us.
Well, the thing is that there's a Verizon repair shop, and then a Verizon store. So there's two different, at least
Got
in
it.
my area. So usually what they'll do is simply that they'll look at your phone, they'll determine if it's it's okay or not,
Good or not? Yeah.
and then they'll they'll tell you either way. And I thought once the guy told me it was broken, which it was true. It really is broken. There
Yeah.
was
No,
no way of
I believe you.
fixing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. They were like, I thought they were going to tell me to go to like the other store to get a new phone, but they were like, no, we could do it right here.
Right.
And I mean, we're still Verizon. And I got the last one of these that they were selling. So it's just kind of funny that it like worked out that way.
That's sick.
Um, but yeah, I'm working on my new phone now, which is great. So,
Nice. That's
and I'm
awesome.
coming off of two exciting live watch alongs in the first two games of the
I
finals.
can't wait to hear what you have to say about these
Yeah,
games because
for
you
sure.
went through the ringer and
Oh, I
possibly the
did.
two best Stanley Cup Finals games in I don't know 15 years I think we've had. But before we jump into that, two things. Congrats by the way on 5 years for Devil's State
Thank
of
you.
Mind. I
Yes,
saw
yeah,
that,
that
so I just
was
wanted to give my congrats.
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
It's really wild. I don't think I've told a lot of people the story of like how
started.
this August started. I don't have to bring it up here. It's not really
Oh,
that.
it's whatever.
I mean, it's really like I was saying, it's been a long 5 years, but really good. I mean,
Yeah,
it's opened up so many different things, including obviously, doing this and doing Flames Cast and writing and all this other
all
stuff
the
that
other
I've been able to
avenues.
do. And it's been great. And I'm so excited about next season because I have so many plans for how I want to take it to another level. Maybe a little similar to like what Steve Dangle does, because like I just think the inspiration just is really good.
Yeah,
But I'm really, yeah, I thank you for the compliment, and yeah, it's been great, and I'm really excited for the next 5 years, moving forward.
yeah, no
So
kidding, right?
that's the
Um,
mindset.
yeah, we'll see if Flames Cast gets to 5.
We've
We
gone
can do
through
it.
one,
We can
so
do it.
you
Yeah,
know,
it was a good year, so a lot of positives, but, like,
look,
I remember I was gonna say, I
we were
remember talking to Taylor real quick from, like, the Straight Up Sabres guys, and they were like, "Man, we love doing this, and we love doing it with you guys. It's just, like, depressing every year to, like, do it," and I'm like, "I get it, man."
I totally get the first 2 3 years that I did it until the 22-23 season. It was
Mm,
very frustrating because
yeah.
there was like they would lose all the time and just like not even like show up, and like it's tough because you want to find a way to keep it going when there isn't a lot to talk about. And the off season can always be a challenge depending on, whatever team that might be and different discussions. But no, I mean, I get it. But, for them, I sympathize wholeheartedly with the fact that they haven't had any playoff hockey in for Buffalo to talk
To be
about.
excited about.
We have their trivia night, which always seems like to be a fun night.
It is a fun night, and I
Yeah,
I actually appreciate that they do that. It's
it's
very
great.
cool. Yeah, so I was at the RBC Canadian Open on Friday for the
Yeah, I knew
PGA
you. I
Tour.
knew. I remember you talking about that you had gotten
Yeah,
tickets that you were going. Yeah,
man, it was so cool. It was so cool. It was cool it being like 10 minutes from my hometown where my parents still live and grew up, and just to like at a course that I've played at publicly before,
sure.
and then you go and you see this like complete transformation, and you're like, oh my god, like the best players in the world are coming to play at this course that you essentially grew up on, right? And it was like
Right.
it was awesome. And so like you go on Friday, and I'll always say for golfers out there, like, because you have your 4 days, right? You got your Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
Hmm.
Sunday. And so like half the field gets cut on Friday, right? You
Yeah.
go home or you get to the weekend, right? I loved Friday because I got a chance to see everybody. Like Rory McIlroy didn't make the weekend. He got cut, right? So but we still
Yeah.
got a chance to see him on Friday. And we were literally like I could touch him. That's how close I was. It was
You give him a pat
awesome.
on the back,
And like
essentially.
and just seeing these guys the way they strike the ball off the tee, you're just like, what type of steroids are you on? It's unbelievable.
It's crazy. Did
Yeah.
you? So were you there the day that like he had that? What was it?
Quad.
Was it McElroy that had the Leafs
Yeah,
jersey?
so he had the so sorry, got the Leafs jersey on Wednesday.
On Wednesday.
Um,
Okay.
on
Just remember.
Friday, it was a pretty packed crowd, but what we did is we were smart because fans there to see McElroy is like flies on shit. Okay.
Right.
And like they everywhere he goes, they follow, right?
Right. Of
So
course.
we mapped it out. We said, okay, on the second hole, we're gonna be sitting at the green, right? And then and then they'll follow him, and then like, oh, perfect. The fifth hole, like we'll go sit at the tee box for a couple of groups, and then they're gonna come and we get a good
Right.
view, right? And so we just plotted our way around for the first like 12
Yeah.
holes. But on the fifth hole, man, he he shot an 8. Like he got
Oof.
oh, it was he was brutal there. So yeah,
I mean, it
he had a
happens.
tough tournament, but overall it was really cool. The concession prices were stupid.
Yeah, you got to go. You got to go. You got to go to the Masters.
Well,
I think you got to. So you spend like $1 on whatever the hell.
so last thing before we get to the cup final.
Sure. Sure.
They basically force you to buy food and drinks there, right? So like a lot of
Hmm.
sporting events, but particularly if you're going to a golf event, right? You're not
Yeah.
allowed to bring in outside food or outside drinks.
Okay.
Fair enough, right? But you can bring in like a plastic water
Do they
bottle,
like
which
check your pockets? Like if you're trying to like hide, like people will like hide and shit. Like
you can go through security. And my dad was like, "Oh, I'm going to bring almonds." And I'm like, "Okay, like fair. Just watch out for people who have a peanut allergy maybe." But anyway, he snuck almonds into his pocket, whatever.
nice.
But you still go through like the usual like security,
Yeah.
like the
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever, the screening, right? Which is whatever. Um but basically they kind of force you to buy food there at the very
Yeah.
least. Like, if we had a snack with us, we would have been fine because we were there from about 8:30 till 3:30ish, right? And so we get to this area, right? This big square area where essentially you get all your food, right? They had 3 options. Okay.
Okay.
They had the keg, which is
Okay.
like you know the keg, right? Yeah. Which is
Yeah.
like a fancy, like it's like milestones.
Okay.
Anyway,
I'm with you.
so you have that. You
Mhm.
have Red Lobster, which is and then it was a pickup window. Okay. And then you have what was called the Burger Priest, which is basically hamburgers.
The Burger Priest.
Yeah,
Okay.
which is hamburgers, essentially. That's
Okay.
all it was.
Okay. Is that like just straight up Canadian? That
Yeah, I believe it is. I think it's a Canadian chain. Yeah.
what was the
But
first one? He had the keg, right? It was the
the
keg,
keg, the
Red
keg,
Lobster, the Priest.
correct. The Burger
Red
Priest.
Lobster. The reason I laugh is because there is not a single Red Lobster within a good 45 miles of my house.
I'm pretty sure they're going bankrupt too.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Like the last one that I went to, it might have been like I was with someone and like there was maybe another couple and that was
Right.
it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, who goes here anymore?
Nobody, not a soul, right?
People just go to the store, buy the biscuits from like the freezer section,
And
and
they go.
call it a day. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's it. And so it's so stupid because, like, us walking up there and we're like, well, what about a sandwich? Literally,
A
like, you couldn't
sandwich.
buy
Yeah.
a
No, I'm with you.
sandwich
I'm
there,
with you.
right?
Yeah.
And so the burger alone in Canadian, okay? So
Okay.
in American, it would have been $12. So in Canadian, it was like $15,
Yeah.
right? Um, for the price of alcohol, it was for a tall can of beer.
Like the tall boys you get.
Yeah,
Okay.
tall
Yep.
boys you get, like the normal
Mhm.
size tall boys,
Yep.
$13.50.
Oh. So we're talking
So it would have been like 11 bucks
13.50
really for you
Canadian.
guys. Yeah, so like 11 bucks for you guys.
That's still, yeah, I mean, that's unfortunately that just like doesn't surprise me because of just like inflation everywhere.
It's true. But
Like
but I was going to say
yeah.
the most surprising part about it, everybody that we walked by had an alcoholic beverage in their hand. So they're buying it regardless.
All right, this is going to sound like very stereotypical. This may really not apply to you specifically or your family, and I
Sure.
say this with great.
Sure.
I'm trying to walk the fine line here of saying this, but the people that go there to these events have money to spend, and they will spend it on bullshit like that. Look,
100%.
like people pay so much to just go to the Masters, right?
Mhm.
Right. But at least they know that like at least the money, the food wise,
When you get
because
there,
it's
it's
so
fine.
traditional,
Yes.
it's just what it is.
You got it.
It's just what it is. I was just thinking about this. We had the Roland Garros, the tennis tournament in France. Just yesterday, we had the final.
Phenomenal final, by the way.
Phenomenal. Oh, great. It lasted so long, but it was cinema,
Fireworks.
absolute cinema. But like, I looked up prices for the fun of it,
Mhm.
for like food. And I'm like, dude, one day, like literally one day of a like going there, like I would go flat broke just trying to get through the day.
It's crazy.
Like I don't.
It
And
does make sense. People will spend it though, 100%.
if you have the money and you have the interest, you will spend it. That's like I always think like when people like have season tickets to like Madison Square Garden for like whatever, I'm always looking at like A, they have money, and B, this has been passed down for about 40 years.
Easily.
And it's just what it is.
Yeah. Easily.
And I'm like, but I'm also like, that's so much money.
It
like
is.
it's like shit.
There was we sat beside it was a younger couple and another younger couple, but they were all friends, right?
Mhm.
And the two guys came back and they went to this burger window,
Yeah.
right? They spent $86. $86.
Dude, go flat.
How
broke.
can you No. Anyway, so but overall it was really cool and
That's awesome.
it was only $100 for the ticket.
Oh, there you go.
So but you get a whole day out of it. Which
Yeah, I
was
mean, that's
really, really worth it. So
yeah, for sure.
yeah, a
Well,
lot of
that's
fun. Can't wait to do it again. And if you really want to watch golfers struggle at their best, watch the US Open this week.
Oh yes, that is
It's
this week.
supposed to be like
The weather
awful.
is supposed to be terrible, right?
So the winning score was 18 under yesterday, right?
Oof.
After the tournament. They're predicting out of the 150, 160 golfers in the US Open coming up that
Mhm.
maybe 5 guys might be under par.
Jeez.
It is a brutal test,
That
this
it
golf
is,
course.
and
So
it's at what, Oakmount, right?
oh yeah,
Oakmont?
Oakmount, just north of Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Just north of Pittsburgh. I was thinking New
It's
York for
supposed
some
to
reason.
be
Yeah.
just a nightmare and a half. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to know like who on the Flames is like the best golfer. Now that we're thinking about it.
Huberdeau's pretty good. They
He's
did a
he's
thing
gotten used to it.
Huberdeau with Brendan Parker. They went and they've played a
Yeah.
couple of times. Yeah, and Huberdeau's not bad. Actually, he's pretty
Nice.
good.
Some of these guys in the league are like a lot better than I thought. And then like everybody, I always see the jokes. Like it was last year, a couple years ago, Joe Pavelski played in like a celebrity tournament with like some other like,
Yeah.
other athletes.
Pavelski's good. He's good.
Yeah, and he was great. And somebody said, well, being on the Sharks for as long as he is, he's gotten used to his summer coming early. And I'm like, okay,
True.
like come on.
Well,
Come on.
you were brave enough to do some live watch-alongs for the first 2
Is that
games of
being
the.
brave?
Well, it's because they
I
lasted
wanted
so
to.
long,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah.
I really wanted. So we're diving into Game 3 tonight.
Love it.
I want to get your opinion though, just from like, because I caught a little bit of game one and I watched the last half of game two. But I wanted to get your vantage point of the first
Sure.
two games of the series because you'll know probably a little bit more than what I've seen on
Mhm.
where do you think we sit so far after two games? Is there anybody that has like a distinct advantage? One team has clearly looked better than the other. Are we
Yeah.
surprised we're at 1-1? Are we not surprised? Like, what do you think we're at right now?
Well, I think first and foremost, we've had two of the best Stanley Cup Finals games we've had in a long time. I
Agreed.
think this is the best two games to start a series in the finals we've had. I couldn't even tell you the last time it was this good.
Hmm.
And there is legitimate hatred between these two teams. Like, I think there's a rivalry being created, honestly,
I agree.
just based off of that. Will it last moving forward? Who knows? I mean, again, you're talking about two teams that play in different conferences and they don't, you see them twice a year in the regular season. But I would say so far, it does feel like the Oilers should be up 2-0 because I feel like they've been the better team through the majority of the series. The problem is, as you and I have both seen, you can't make mistakes with this Panther team. You can't take penalties. You can't give up multiple breakaways in overtime and expect them to not score at all. I think that was kind of one of the things in game number 2 that really stood out was the Panthers got opportunities to score. And in the first breakaway by Sam Reinhart, he missed the net. But the second one, Brad Marchand, he didn't miss. And he knew exactly where he wanted to go with that puck because he had already scored short. He already scored on a breakaway earlier in the game, shorthanded in the second period. So I would say 85% of the time, the Oilers have been the better team, and about 15% has been the Panthers. And the frustrating thing for Edmonton is that it's tied at a game apiece going back to Florida. And I think that's the frustration that you have because you really should have won game number 2. You really should have won that game. But, it was back and forth. That second game was the first period alone was nuts because you had 11 penalties called combined. You had 5 goals and nobody wanted to play defense. I mean, it was just both goaltenders were hung out to dry. Like it really just looked like they had no business being there. And I know that there was that controversy with the first goal with Sam Bennett in front of the net.
Yeah, but that was
Here's
the right
thing.
call.
It was the right call. The problem that people are having is the fact that it's Sam Bennett. If that was anyone else, if like Barkov was in front of the net and he fell like that, I don't think you would have had the reaction that you did.
No.
But because it was, of course it's Sam Bennett, or of course it's Brad Marchand. Like it's the guys that people look at and say are the dirty players, the guys that walk that fine line that maybe sometimes go over it. Whatever the case may be. But the bottom line is that when I look at game 1, the Panthers were outplayed for the most part.
Yeah.
Even in the overtime period before they gave up that goal to lose, they were getting outplayed. They were not playing well.
When Nosek gave him the penalty,
I knew it was over. I've seen that story a million times. I was like, this is going to be a goal. Like, if they don't score here, I'll be shocked. But, of course, they scored. Great feed from Connor McDavid, but it's Connor McDavid, and I feel like at this point everyone's getting numb to it. But that goal, I go back to it. There were like 2 or 3 goals in game 2 that were just stupidly unreal, like passing-wise. One that Florida scored, it was Nate Schmidt to Luosterainen, who then fed it over to Seth Jones' backdoor, open net. I mean, it was just crisp. And then Connor McDavid with the sidestep, spin around, 1,000% IQ pass to Draisaitl, who scored. It's like, Draisaitl scored, but McDavid deserved he
did the work,
all of it because he scored. And like, it was a great showing of hockey from both of these teams.
You bet.
And look, the biggest difference for Florida through 2 games has been Sergei Bobrovsky. He's still playing at a very, very strong level. I know he's given up a bunch of goals, but
he's made 42 saves in both game 1 and game 2 to become the first goalie to have back-to-back games with at least 40 saves to open up a Stanley Cup final.
If the Panthers go on to win the Stanley Cup, Bobrovsky's getting the Conn Smythe. I don't think because there's nobody else on that team other than Sam Bennett, which, to be fair, the guy has 3 goals already in these finals, and also Brad Marchand, who's really stepped up. especially in game 2. I just think that Bobrovsky has just been so good all playoff long. Because remember, it's a playoff award, not necessarily a finals award.
Right.
But I do have one issue.
Okay.
Matthew Tkachuk is playing severely hurt.
I was going to, you
There's
know what?
no
You read my
debating
mind.
that.
I was just about to talk about him. Yeah.
There was one play, if you remember in game 2, the puck is right on his stick in overtime and he trips over himself because he doesn't get enough on it. It's definitely a hip problem in my opinion because he can't fully turn.
I fully believe this goes all the way back to the Four Nations.
I said it numerous times throughout the broadcast to everybody that whatever he hurt in the Four Nations face-off has lingered this entire time because he hasn't done it. I couldn't tell you the last time he scored a goal in the playoffs.
Not even a goal, but just like when I watch him on the ice, it does not feel he's as effective as he normally is, right? I go, who are you? Like I don't recognize the player that I'm seeing play right now.
And I'm not criticizing him because look, he's playing
and it's not
injured,
really
but all these guys
right?
are playing injured. I think you would like and you would hope that maybe we get a big moment from Tkachuk at some point in these finals because it would be great. But also, this Panther team has guys stepping up left and right. So it's not like that they have been fully dependent on their big guys. Has Barkov done a whole lot through 2 games? No. But it's other guys like Luosterainen has been strong through 2 games.
Well, so Paul Maurice goes up on the presser this morning, and one of the guys asked him, like, hey, Barkov doesn't have any points so far in this series. Like, how do you feel about him? And first thing Paul Maurice says, oh, we got to trade him.
Yeah, I know. He's got to go. No, it's just, and Paul Maurice is such a great quote.
Love him. I love him.
Such a great quote. But yeah, no, I think for Florida, you got to feel lucky that you got the series tied, I think.
So far, like that was the key for Florida is like because it felt like a lot of people were thinking they were going in banged up and the Oilers were actually favorites going into the series.
They've been the best favorites.
It was a job for them to go in and take one game. They needed to bring it back to Florida, because this wasn't this was an Oilers team who came in red hot in the last 2 series. They've lost two of their last 8 games they've lost. Mm-hmm. Right? So they've come in red hot.
They've gotten a coach fired too.
And they've gotten a coach fired in the process. So
that technically, I mean, did the Panthers took it a step further. They got a president of hockey ops to get fired.
Right. So for as much as we say that Florida's been better on the road than they are at home, they have to take this though. Like going back home to Florida, it's like because they didn't look necessarily that great on the road either. Like they let in 9 goals on the road here with Bobrovsky and net. So
look at the series against the Leafs, right? I mean, it wasn't like they were like super dominant at home,
right?
And even the only loss that they had against Carolina was at home.
Exactly.
So there is an opening there for Edmonton. Going to Edmonton really quickly here to kind of wrap up my long spiel here is that the top guys are unsurprisingly stepping up. You have Draisaitl playing well. You have McDavid doing McDavid things. You have Bouchard doing really, really well. Corey Perry. I consider Corey Perry one of the bigger players on the team because of the fact that he does get involved in everything. Evander Kane, the thing about Evander Kane that people are shocked, like, oh, he leads the series in hits. He is the least banged up of any player that's playing in these finals. He barely did not play in the regular season.
Yeah.
Or played like 2 games. He's not banged up going into this, so he has more of a freewheeling attitude of he could throw his body around and make plays. But one thing that I've really liked from Edmonton, they seem to have more depth than they've had in the past. And
they're
guys
getting contributions.
Victor Arvidsson, right? He's gotten points in both games.
Kasperi Kapanen.
Kasperi Kapanen is all over the ice. I thought he was going to win game 2. I think he had the puck on his stick.
Yeah, he did.
And he didn't score. And he was so angry because I think he tried to lift the puck and didn't get enough of it. And he knew on the bench, if he had lifted it just a little more, that puck's in the back of the net and Edmonton's up 2-0. But
what a way to rejuvenate your career, by the way.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes multiple teams before you get it going. Sometimes it takes one. It really just depends. I mean, I've said it from everybody talking to me in Devils World, the amount of former Devils that are on Florida. And, Tomas Nozick, Jesper Boquist, AJ Greer, Vitek Vanacek, whatever.
AJ
But
Greer,
like,
the former Flame, too.
yeah. But here's the thing: whatever system is in place in Florida just works for those type of players. It doesn't mean that they're going to go to a multitude of other teams and it's just going to work.
Right.
That's not always the case there. And so that's the way I look at it with Edmonton. If you're the biggest thing, though, I will say that may hurt the Oilers, even though it's only been 2 games, is the fact that Zach Hyman is not playing.
And
Because there are times where I think Zach Hyman would have been able to come through in a situation where they needed a goal and get it done.
Well, now, speaking of injuries here, now we don't know if Nugent Hopkins is going to be available tonight.
He did. I don't know if it says it. Oh, it does say it there. Yeah, he did skate this morning. So that's a positive, but that means very little. I need Jeff Skinner to score if he's playing tonight.
So he would replace Nugent Hopkins on a line with McDavid and Perry. If I'm not mistaken,
no,
right?
yeah, Skinner better score.
Skinner.
Yeah, Jeff Skinner.
Oh, Jeff Skinner. Sorry, for a second I was like Stuart.
No,
Skinner.
Jeff Skinner. They have more
Can
than
you
one
imagine?
Skinner on this team.
Can you imagine?
It says it, Kyle. Can
No,
you
I
read?
know.
It says
I
it
know.
right there.
I know it does. I'm sorry.
But
So yeah, if that were the case, game time decision tonight, undisclosed injury. Seems
something happened in game. I couldn't tell you what happened. If it happened in one of the first 2 games, I didn't see it.
okay. That's why I wanted to refer to you. Yeah.
But the one thing I find interesting is AJ Greer, I think, might have a chance to play tonight.
Yeah, so that's the injury update tonight for the Oilers. And then for the Panthers, AJ Greer will return tonight after missing the first 2 games of the final.
Fantastic.
Greer is going to replace Jesper Boquist on the 4th line, which includes Nosek and Jonah Gadjevich.
Honestly, it doesn't surprise me. AJ Greer, I think, has been more effective than Boquist on that on that 4th line. So it's good to get him back in the lineup for sure. But I think for the Panthers, you got to start on time. We've
been saying that.
You did in game 2, but obviously you let it go because you were undisciplined. But you got to get into it right away because this Oilers team is too good that they won't. Because the Oilers start on time.
Yeah.
Even though they went down 1-0 in game 2, they were still there. They were still pushing the envelope. So it's got to be starting on time and being ready to go right away.
What I'm curious about, and it relates back to last year's final, was the Oilers in game 5. They were back in Florida, and Florida had a chance to close it out, and the Oilers shut them out, right? Outside of that, Edmonton hasn't played that well in Florida. Because the last time in game 1, even though they dominated, right? They got shut out 3-0. They lose game 7, 2-1. It's close, it's tight, it's a different game. I get it. Mm-hmm. I'm very curious to see, even with them depleted, and curious to see, we're not going to get, regardless if Nugent Hopkins plays tonight, he's not going to be 100%, right?
No.
Like a lot of guys are, right? But I'm just curious if tonight, is going to be a night where Edmonton takes the reins a bit more, right? Because you have to feel confident if you're them, despite losing game 2. I think I'm totally in the same boat with you, where I think Edmonton certainly deserves to be up 2-0 in this series, right?
The problem is how they played in the overtimes of game 2. I don't think that they really deserved it, but
fair enough. But the Panthers might have them right where they want them, right?
That's the other danger.
That's the dangerous part.
Yeah.
You cannot keep this Florida team around. Toronto learned the hard way, right? You had them up 2-0. You forced them to at least a game 7, despite being up 2-0 in that series, and you can't put them away.
And take it a step further, Kyle. Game 3 of that series,
and they had them in overtime.
They could have won it in overtime if they had won that game. I don't think Florida, for as good as they are, I don't think we're talking about the Panthers right now in the finals.
Correct. You cannot keep this team in it.
No.
The longer that this series goes, which I think we all know is, I would like to argue more likely this is going 6 games at the minimum. The longer this goes, the more I would get concerned, right? Now, you also wonder, too, if you're Edmonton for games 1 and 2, right? Minus overtime in game 2.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best I've seen the Oilers play these playoffs entirely. Games 1 and game 2. Is that cause for concern, knowing that can they continue to keep that level up going into Florida in 3 and 4 here? It wouldn't surprise me if we go back 2-2.
That's the way I look at it. And I think if you're Edmonton, that's what you need. You need to at least do that, right? You can't You can't go back home down 3-1 because, especially knowing that 2 of the next 3 games are at home, which is crazy to say because we look at it like home ice advantage, just any other thing. For a team like Florida, it really doesn't matter to them
Mhm.
at all because they won their first series. What they win it on? Didn't they win it on the road? Didn't they win it
So they
against
won
Tampa?
in Tampa, game 5 on
They
the
won in
road,
Tampa, they won in Toronto, and they won in
won in
Carolina.
Carolina.
They basically have proven that like we don't care that we don't have home ice advantage. We're fine.
It doesn't
Now,
matter for Florida. I agree.
exactly, exactly. And I think that Florida struggles more at home than they do on the road, which if Edmonton can get it going, again, like keep it up, I think there's a possibility for that. I think there's a possibility for them to at least make it 2-2 because I can't envision the Panthers losing both games at home. Just like I couldn't have envisioned Edmonton losing both games at home.
Yeah.
Did I expect that series to be 1-1 going back to Florida? Yeah,
Mhm.
I honestly did, unfortunately, because of just Florida responds. They do find ways
Yeah.
to respond to adversity. But it's got to start tonight. You got to start. You got to start on time. You have to. You got to. I think the biggest thing for Florida that they haven't done it as much as they should is create traffic in front of Stuart Skinner. I think that while they have gotten some goals past him,
Mhm.
they're not making it super hard on him. The one goal I'll really quickly point out was the Dmitry Kulikov goal that tied the game up at 3 in the second period. Great screen by Matthew Tkachuk.
Oh,
Stuart Skinner had no
such a good
no
screen.
clue where that, but that's an example of what I'm talking about because once Skinner gives up a goal or two that maybe he should have had, that's when things start to spiral out of control.
You got it.
And we haven't seen that yet through 2 games, although he's given up a bunch of goals through the first 2. Same thing with Bobrovsky.
Mhm.
If Skinner starts to fall off from the play that he's had of late, that to me is gonna end it for Edmonton. But look, we've been saying for the last we've been saying it literally every single series for Edmonton. They're not going to get it done. Why? Because of Stuart Skinner. Now, granted, Calvin Pickard, give him a lot of credit. You know, he did great against LA. And I'll give Stuart Skinner a lot of credit. He's played really well. It's been a big reason why they've gotten this far. But I kind of still am waiting for that to stop. And
It's true.
it's weird. Sometimes he's giving up a goal and I'm like, oh, here it comes.
Mhm.
This is where they're going to give up. He's going to give up 3 or 4 more and it's going to be ugly. But if he can keep this play going, he just gives the Oilers a great chance to win these games. But if he is struggling even a little bit, I don't like Edmonton's chance for as good as they are. I
Yeah.
just worry that they're going to give up a couple of soft goals and then it's there's nothing they can do about it.
Florida's starting to, I mean, because game 1, I thought they gave up way too, Christ, what was it? At one point, it was 4-on-3, right? In that crazy first period, I think it was in
Yeah.
game 1. What's the one thing as well, too, we always say is that you cannot put the Oilers on the power play. We know what's going to happen. Not 9 times out of 10, they're going to probably score, right?
Yeah.
So I really like Florida at home for whatever reason. I don't know why. Even if they're banged up, I still like them at home. If Nugent Hopkins doesn't play tonight and you don't have Zach Hyman, I just wonder how many hurdles can you cross without tripping, right?
How many times are they going to have to rely on McDavid and Draisaitl to carry the team?
Well, it's the reason why they're here, right? It's the
It
focal
is.
point of why they're here.
It is.
So last thing I'll say is just looking at tonight, I wouldn't even it's funny. I want to know from you, just purely looking at game 3 tonight.
Sure.
Am I wrong in saying I don't think it matters what team loses or wins tonight? What are we looking for? Because it
Mhm.
feels okay, winner goes up 2-1, but I'm not looking at it that way. I'm looking at it at this for me, it's all about the play, right? I don't think a team has, you're going to go up 2-1 in the series. I just don't feel like it has that sense of urgency compared to when we're going to watch game 4 on Thursday. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Specifically with
Yeah.
this series.
Yeah. So the question you're asking is, does it matter who wins tonight? Kind of thing.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I would say that it doesn't fully matter. I think game 4 is more important because I think the series could really shift one way or the other. I think for Edmonton, if they're able to steal one here, I think that they could potentially be smelling blood in the water going into game 4
I,
because of
I
what.
I would be worried because I believe Edmonton's such a better home team, and I
Right.
wonder, and I'm more or less wondering how they'll play tonight and Game 4 on the road.
I think what's important for tonight for Edmonton is how do they respond after that game 2? Do they look at it because you're gonna look at it one of two ways. You're either gonna look at it like, damn, we let that one go. We should have won that game.
Mm,
We're in trouble now because, like as the saying goes, you're not in trouble until you lose at home. And right now, you could say on paper that Edmonton is in a little bit of trouble. And I would feel a lot more like that if the Panthers were like really good at home. If they were playing like, I'll give a quick example. If Edmonton was playing like Carolina in this series and like with how well up until the conference finals, Carolina was at home, I would be like, I don't like that this series is going back 1-1. But because Florida has shown at times to not be fantastic at home,
mhm.
there is an opening there. If you're Florida, so going back to Edmonton really quickly, I just want to see I want to see what type of response we get tonight. Because if you go out there thinking, "Oh, we let it go," now we're in trouble, it's just going to snowball. It's going to
Tonight, yeah,
snowball into game
yeah.
3. And if you look at it like, yeah, it sucks. Should have won game 2, whatever. Move on. Series is tied. They got to win 3 games still. We got to win 3 games as well. We just got to take at least one on the road. We
Yep.
take at least one, we are still very much fine. We cannot afford to go back home down 3-1. We
This,
can't.
yeah, this feels
We
like a
can't.
totally new series tonight.
I
Like
feel
it's
like
like
we're back to even
I
again.
feel like we're back to, well, no shit, but we are, like, it feels like
Literally,
tonight. It feels like
literally and
tonight is going to
figuratively.
feel like game
Yeah.
1. I don't know why, right? Like, it doesn't feel like a team needs to win tonight. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It doesn't feel like we're at that level of urgency yet.
Yeah,
I feel like this is like a brand new series and we got a game 1 coming tonight.
I agree.
Almost, right? So,
I agree.
yeah, curious to see what happens with Nugent Hopkins
Sure.
tonight as he's a game time decision. Again, AJ Greer back for the Florida Panthers tonight, game 3 tonight at 8 Eastern. Jimmy Finizzi will be live for game 3 tonight. We'll be live for you guys for game 4, and we got Grant game 5 on Saturday as well. So we'll take a quick little break here. Come back, got a quick little bit of Flames news, and then
We
we'll
are going
wrap,
to talk about
we'll wrap it up, and we'll give our predictions for tonight.
Sure.
So beautiful. The fastest game on ice just hit another gear, and you can welcome the Stanley Cup Final where legends are made and every shift could turn the tide. And now with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, you can take every slapshot, breakaway, and overtime thriller to the next level. New betting to the Stanley Cup Final? You're in for an exciting time. Getting started is a breeze. Fire up the DraftKings Sportsbook app and pick your team to win. Lock in your wager, and you're off to the races. Fast and simple, and puts you right in the middle of the action. Here's the kicker. New customers, you can bet $5. You'll score $300 in bonus bets if the wager hits. That's right. Turn $5 into a Stanley Cup Final payout. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $300 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. It's only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
All right, so a couple of bit of Flames news here before we give our predictions tonight for Game 3. We are slowly learning. We found out from Pat Steinberg on Flames Talk on Sportsnet that Daniel Vladar is more than likely going to test free agency coming up. Kind of makes a whole lot of sense. The Flames are going to go in a bit of a new direction. They want to give him maybe a better chance to be a starter somewhere else, as Wolf clearly won that battle there.
Yeah.
And also, too, you're going to see the Flames go out in free agency and see if they can find a comparable backup goaltender for Dustin Wolf. Thoughts on Vladar probably hitting free agency?
Yeah, like you mentioned, it's not that much of a surprise. I think that Vladar obviously saw the writing on the wall and wants an opportunity to. I don't know if he's necessarily looking to maybe find a place where he could start, although that's that's going to be the goal of any goaltender, is that to find a place where they could be the number one guy. But I definitely think that he wants to find some place where he can play a bit more, and get that opportunity to really hone in. And again, he's only 27, so he's still pretty young. And it's weird. I consider this the year of the backup goaltender in free agency because a lot of the guys that are available are free agent are backup goaltenders. I think the number one backup goaltender in this free agency is Jake Allen, with how well he played last year in New Jersey. Yeah. And it's going to be interesting with him because he's made it pretty much clear that if the Devils offer him a deal, he's going to take it because he wants to stay. But I think it's also like the market could be really good. And the same thing for Vladar here. The market could actually surprisingly be good. I'll give you may not, nobody's going to want to hear this, but what if the Oilers decide after the series, depending on how it goes, what if they're looking for a different backup goaltender or whatever? Maybe Vladar all of a sudden becomes a player involved in that. Who knows? My point is just simply that we know who our number one guy is. Now it's about, do we get what direction do we go? Do we have someone in-house, maybe like Cooley, that we just want to make the backup? Or do we want to find a guy that can play at a high level, but won't have to play, let's call it, 40 games or whatever the case
give or
be.
take.
I think we're trying to get 75-25 here with
because you're going to get about 50 to 60 with Wolf. Yeah,
100%.
For sure.
So, I'd have to look more into it because Vladar and Allen are the only two goalies in free agency that I can think of. I would have to look deeper into who else is available.
There will be more out there for sure.
There will be more. And maybe even Vitek Vanacek if he's available in free agency. Maybe
it's very possible. Yep.
Mateo
Gradin wins
the backup goalies.
You're good.
So Mateo Gradin, I know what they can do. I've seen them play, so it's not like I'm just
no kidding
out of my rear end. Yeah, exactly.
Mateo Gradin has won the QMJHL's Rookie of the Year, so congrats to Gradin. Huska did receive some Jack Adams votes as well. He was, I believe, 11th amongst head coaches, so take that as you will. And there is mutual interest between Justin Kirkland and the Flames for an extension, maybe a one-year deal. I'm hoping that they do that because he had such a good start, and then it was unfortunate the way that it ended. So I think there is mutual interest to bring him back.
It sucks because we were really excited about how he was playing. He had scored like an overtime goal, I think, at one point, and we were like, this is great. And then when we heard the news that he was hurt and he was going to be done for the year, it sucks. And so I would
to me was more devastating than hearing Anthony Mantha.
That's the way I look at it because you're on the fence about Anthony Mantha, and like even next year, I'm still on the fence. Like I'm still like
I hate to say it, but I don't see him back.
No, I don't think that
very short tenure.
Sure. I think it's. Let me ask you a hypothetical here because I know that the Flames may look for scoring depth. I think at least that's one of the things I've read.
That's on the radar. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you personally entertain? Forget about what the front office might think. Would you personally entertain bringing back Kuzmenko? With how well he played after he got traded, to be fair. Probably not, right?
I couldn't.
Because like the thing for me, because I've read a couple things about Kuzmenko might have like a bunch of suitors with and he played well in LA, but like my attitude is like, how much of it was it him and how much was it just him getting a different opportunity or playing more? He did play a lot more in LA. He even played a decent amount more in Philly in the short time he was there.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a system fit too, right? And you had a full year with a brand new team where he was in Calgary, and it just sometimes we've seen it all the time, right? You just say Kasperi Kapanen here for the Oilers in the final, and look how he's fit, right? And sometimes it's just a systematic fit, and I think that's just something you look at for Kuzmenko.
That's kind of the funny thing with when I look at Nazem Kadri, that towards the end of his time in Toronto, it just kind of seemed like
people.
I'm sorry. Did I strike a nerve? Did I just strike a nerve?
To shut the fuck up about a Kadri trade. I am so sick and tired of hearing. I feel like they missed their window on trading him. Somebody explain to me what's wrong with him.
I think it's the contract. I think the reason why people
It's not even that bad of a contract.
I know. What I'm trying to do is explain what I think the reasoning might be. Because, like,
Fire away.
yeah, no, I've seen. Look, I see every team's got one of these. Honestly and truly, every team's got one of these guys that has a contract that's like usually in the range of like $5-6 million a year, right? Or whatever
Yeah.
Kadri's making.
Sure. Yeah,
How
it's
much
7
is
million.
Kadri?
7 million. Yeah.
Okay, yes. Because a lot of people's expectations that when you're getting paid that much at that high of an AAV, the expectation is that you are a quote unquote top flight player, this, that, and the other thing. And when things don't always consistently go well, what are people tend to normally do? Point the finger at somebody, right? And a lot of people, the crazy thing is that what was the biggest issue with the Flames this year, Kyle? What was the biggest issue?
Scoring.
We couldn't score. So how is that on Kadri when he ended up with what, 30?
He was over 30 goals.
He had over 30 goals. What exactly could he have done?
On a team
40?
that generally doesn't have a lot of playmakers / scorers.
Exactly. So the fact that like the Flames got that much out of Kadri with the team
with
that
nothing.
we had.
Like
imagine we get a couple of other guys that can find the back of the net. You know,
I think it's banana lands that people.
I am not against it. The only way, Kyle, I'll be so honest. The only way that I will be approving a Kadri trade is if we're getting someone who can play right away in return that is productive scoring wise.
He needs to be, but if it's a return, he needs to be an upgrade.
Right, because otherwise you're getting a lesser player, or maybe even the same level of player, and it's like, so then why didn't you just keep Kadri?
Yeah,
and with salary cap going up.
Yeah.
Is that $7 million in another year or two really going to be that big of a deal?
No. Yeah, no. Like, what bothers me is that, like, here's what bothers me the most is this. Like, the Flames fans ever since Tkachuk left, and at the time Gaudreau left too, right? Ever since then, they were bitching and complaining about the fact that nobody wanted to sign in Calgary. Kadri goes out in free agency. Took him a while, but he signed a 7-year deal in Calgary because he wanted to be there. We are, 2 years into his deal, and people want him out. And frankly, he's done a great job so far.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not getting this notion of him getting dealt. Oh, you missed the window of him getting traded. Well, maybe you shouldn't when the guy just signed with you for 7 years and has been nothing but good for you.
I agree.
It makes no sense. The one thing that will be fascinating, though, is I'm hearing rumblings that it sounds like Anderson could be a draft day trade. I don't know where. I have no idea who.
Yeah, that.
It screams that he could be dealt at the draft.
Yeah. I think we're getting a lot of draft day trades this year, Kyle, honestly. And the reason I say that is because I don't think free agency is an option for a lot of teams in terms of value. Massive upgrades.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying the Flames can't go into free agency and get upgrades. I'm talking about like if you want to swing for the fences, I don't think this is the year in free agency to do it. I think next year is.
Yeah. I don't think the UFA market's that good.
Like here's the thing. People say like, oh, like look how many teams Mitch Marner's going to go to. If we're being very blunt about the Mitch Marner situation, there's going to be somebody that's going to grossly overpay him.
Oh, he'll get his money.
And he'll get his money. Yeah. There are 4 teams that I can see doing that.
Yeah.
The Sharks, because they have the most cap space of any team.
Vegas,
because it's Vegas and they'll circumvent the cap some way, somehow. I think Florida will be a player as much as people might find that surprising. I think that if they let Sam Bennett go, not even if they let Sam Bennett go, if Sam Bennett like walks, right, and goes somewhere else, the counterattack is, let's get Mitch Marner, right?
Right.
And Utah, because Utah wants a star. And honestly, name me one person that would be mad if one of like San Jose or Utah got Mitch Marner. I don't think a soul would care. But because it's Vegas or Florida or whatever, it's like the rich get richer, so to speak. But like look at Nikolai Ehlers too. Like,
yeah, that's like there's like 3 names I look at.
I think he has a very high chance of staying in Winnipeg. If I'm being honest with you, Kyle, I think the more the more I'm reading it, I don't think he's asking for only like what, $8 million?
I think the Jets will keep him.
I think
it'll
the Jets will totally
they'll
keep
find
him.
a way to keep him. I think it
For sure.
feels
And
like it's going to go that way.
Right. And then after that, there's just like this drop off. Like
It's a huge drop off.
And like some of these guys at the top of the list are probably going to end up re-signing before the July 1st. Like we are going to have, this is the year of depth scoring in free agency, in my opinion. This is the year of a lot of guys are going to get signed to 2 or 3 year deals at very low AAV, but they're bottom 6 guys or they're top 9 guys that can score. If we're going to see a big time move from any team, it's going to be via trade.
Right.
And I'll give you one team that might shock a lot of people that might be in play for a big trade, and that's the Bruins. And I'm not talking about them acquiring somebody. I'm talking about they might full scale blow it up. Because after what happened with Markman, can you really convince that organization that it's a bump in the road kind of thing? Because it doesn't feel like that to me, personally.
That Elias Lindholm and Zadorov deal over the last summer, that killed them.
And then the Marchand trade was the icing on the cake.
Oh, and that was just, that was.
I mean, but you see, I looked at that clip that they showed of like the front of like the entire scouting staff and like, Sweeney telling them that they traded him. And it's just like, oh, damn. And everyone's just like, this is not good. Oh, and Brad Marchand's a free agent.
I can't see Pasternak staying.
What do you want to stay, though, with a team that probably has very little to no direction moving forward?
Well, he signed a long-term deal, right? I mean,
but that doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot.
Yeah, listen, it's not going to happen soon, but it could happen down the road for sure.
But I think we'll see some draft day trades for sure.
Yeah, I'm very curious. I'm hoping in an Anderson deal. It sounds like that's where we're going towards, so we're just preparing for it. I'm more or less hoping that there's a high I want a higher prospect rather than a draft pick at this point.
Fair enough.
Like that's what it's going to take at this point. Like I'm sick of the draft picks. Like we've got 2 coming up here in the first round here. Let's figure something out here.
And like the thing is, like if we're getting like a prospect, at least we can look at the guy and be like, we have a better idea as to what we're getting, as opposed to getting another draft pick and then being like, all right, what are we going to use it on?
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? So I don't know. And I think I think Marco Rossi gets dealt.
Here's my thing
with him.
I'm kind of leaning towards, I think there is interest in Marco Rossi.
From Calgary.
I think there could be.
I think
the only way that they could acquire him.
The bill that we've been talking about for the last 6 months.
And the only way they could acquire him is via a sign and trade. You can't sign him.
And I'm not against that.
Yeah.
And
then if somebody, like the stupid thing, like the only way I could see it work, and maybe with whoever RFAs too, if they want to do a sign and trade.
Offer sheet is what you're saying. You don't want
no. So what I would do is, because they're going to have a sufficient amount of cap space, they're working on an extension with Kevin Ball, and they got to extend Wolf and whatever, right?
Yeah.
But the way that I see it is, if they're going after the RFA market this summer, it's going to be via sign and trade, because they don't want to give up. Like the first round pick next year for Vegas could be very fascinating depending on how they do, right? Because they kind of crashed and burned out of the playoffs here. So we'll see what happens there. But with the RFA market, I would feel much more comfortable just doing a sign and trade, letting somebody else, if it comes to it, try to sign Rossi, and we'll just match it, no problem. I don't think it matters to me what it could be. I don't care what the number is, because I think the Flames have the sufficient cap in order to match it. So that doesn't concern me.
I think the sign and trade works out well for both teams, because you're giving yourself a better opportunity to get a better value for the player you're trading away if you're trading him before you got to sign him to the RFA deal.
Yeah.
And then it's like, all right, someone else's problem, not ours, kind of thing. And I think,
absolutely.
Look, the reason why Marco Rossi gets brought up so much is because look at how things ended and look at where things are right now with him in Minnesota. First of all, financially wise, they're apparently not even close.
Well, they're out of cap hell now from the Parise and Suter.
They are out of cap hell, but it doesn't even seem like that Guerin is like so 100% like, we got to get, Rossi signed.
Yes.
And then he played on the 4th line at one point during the playoffs, which I thought was kind of absurd. It seemed like he got into John Hines' doghouse at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly. And like, He's an intriguing player. I don't think guy like Matthew Nyes gets moved.
He stays. No,
He
he's
stays,
staying,
and
yeah.
he's a local kid. Why would he want to?
That's another position too, though, where like the Leafs can get whatever he gets signed for, and they can probably match him no problem because they're freeing
Probably,
up
yeah.
Mitch Marner space, right? I just wanted to quickly bring up just some of the RFA guys, just notable guys too.
Sure.
One that I think really is going to go is Bowen Byram. He's an RFA this summer. Evan Bouchard in RFA coming up this summer. I don't know if he gets moved. Just running through some real quick here. Noah Dobson, Keandre Miller, Gabriel Velarde, Mason McTavish, Cody Glass from New Jersey.
I think McTavish gets moved.
Nick Hague as well too. Yeah, McTavish. Yeah, you could get
McTavish.
moved.
Yeah,
Luke Hughes, but I think he stays. Marco Rossi, obviously the
Can
big
I
name.
clarify something really quickly with Luke Hughes? Because I really just have to get it over. He can't be offer sheeted by anybody. He is a 10-2 player according to Puckpedia, which essentially means he has not played while he signed his RFA 3 years ago. He has not played enough games to make it 3 years in the league because he signed his entry level contract with like 3 games to go in the regular season in 22-23,
right,
and then played in the playoffs. But then only this year was his second full season in the league. So he exclusively can only be signed by the Devils. So it's weird. It's a weird thing that I did not know was a thing. But he cannot be offer sheeted in any way, shape, or form.
Well, there you go.
So that's another
lot of more. But like, if you just look at the list of RFAs, there's so many intriguing pieces that it's definitely going to feel like an RFA type summer coming up, which is going to be good. Okay. Last thing, we got predictions for tonight, and you go first. Who you got?
Yeah. So I'm gonna say that I think Edmonton's gonna bounce back. I think that they feel like and again, this may depend a lot more on what the situation is with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins going into tonight. My opinion might change, but I'm going to go with Edmonton to win. I think they're going to win something like 4-2 with an empty net. I think for once we're not going to go to overtime, but I think again we're going to have a close game because I just think that these two teams are so even in terms of how they play and things like that. I think that that's why we're getting such close games, because of things are like more tight checking and all that. So I'm going to go with Edmonton to win 4-2 tonight and go up and reclaim the home ice advantage.
I like Florida tonight just because I'm going off of the notion that Nugent-Hopkins is not going to be available tonight. So if they're a little beat up, and then also too, the Oilers practiced yesterday and then the Panthers didn't. So it's an optional skate. They're resting up a bit more. I like Florida being at home, honestly, a little bit more, despite them being good on the road. So I'm gonna go Florida tonight. I'm gonna say I think it's gonna be closer than we think tonight. It doesn't feel like it's gonna be another blowout, or not a blowout. Sorry, it shouldn't be. It's not going to be
another blowout comparatively to last year. Yeah,
I mean, like we've had 5-4 games, on game 1 and game 2. I'm going to say 4-3 Florida. I think it'll be close again. So there you go. All right. So next Monday will be, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, game 6. I think
so.
Yeah. Unless, either way, game 5 will be done after Saturday. So I would hope to believe that we still have a cup final still going on.
I would like to hope. I selfishly, like, as people who are not fans of either team, we're like, let's hope this goes.
Let's
7.
just let it go, let it ride out to the end.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, hopefully you guys can join Jimmy tonight.
I will be 28 by the time we see each other again. My birthday is on Sunday, so
join the boat. Join the boat, my friend.
It's
a good 28 club to be in.
That's the hope. I hope that's the case.
It honestly doesn't feel any different.
It'll start feeling different until probably hit 30, and then it feels different.
Yeah, it'll slap you.
Your back starts to hurt a little more.
Yeah, it's already hurting now. Make sure you guys go check out Jimmy tonight. He'll be live for game 3, and then I think we'll be okay for game 4. Maybe.
Yeah,
we'll figure it out.
Barring any unforeseen circumstances. Yeah, we should be.
Beautiful. All right, and then we'll see you all again next Monday for maybe it's over. Maybe it's over. Maybe it's still going on. We'll see. All right. Sounds good. Everybody enjoy the rest of the night. Good stuff as always, Neil. And we'll catch you all next Monday.